Good morning, boys and girls. I wanted to introduce you to our lesson for today. So I know that you already have looked through, I know that you guys have already looked through our text structure videos, have gone through the PowerPoint. You guys remember. The text structure we'll be working on this week is called Compare and Contrast. Compare and contrast is when we have an author talking about two different things that are in some ways the same and in some ways are different. So, as you can tell from our title right here, black bear and polar bear comparison, these are the two things we'll be talking about, the black bear and the polar bear. So let's get to the reading portion. It says, read the passage about the black bears and polar bears below, then fill in the Venn diagram to compare and contrast by typing what you know about each bear in the circles. So my first step is to read this. My second step is to fill in the Venn diagram, but not this Venn diagram here, this Venn diagram here. To get you started, I have asked you some questions that I want you to tell me the answers from the article, and that will help you compare and contrast. So I've already given the title, this side or this circle is for polar bears. This one is for black bears, and this one is for two things that they have in common. So let's get started with the reading portion. Also, just so you know, you can type into these boxes. I would do it this way, where right after the question mark, hit the enter button on your computer, take the two away, you don't need that, and just answer the questions. It might even help if you answer the questions in a different color so I can see them here, but that's up to you. All right. Start with paragraph number 1. Black bears are mammals that live in the tundra and forests. They are omnivores. I wonder what that means. Omnivores who prefer to eat nuts, acorns, and fruit. Now I have an idea. I know that wild dogs, wolves are carnivores, which means that they eat meat. An omnivore must be an animal that does not eat meat, because it says these black bears eats nuts, acorns, and fruit. It also says that they eat insects and succulent greens. That means sort of like grass, leaves from trees, things like that. So these are a couple things that they eat. Brown bears spend the autumn months gathering and eating food to prepare for hibernation. Hibernation, this is another kind of bigger word. Hibernating is when an animal eats or stores up a lot of food and goes to sleep for several months at a time, usually through the winter when food is harder to find. Black bears, they weigh between 125 to 500 pounds, with females on the lower end of that range. So the female black bears weigh less than the males do. The length of the black bear is 4 to 7 feet. If left alone by humans, black bears can live up to 25 years old. So that's only a couple of years younger than me, and quite a few years older than you guys. So let's start off by taking what we learned about black bears. One thing that the first sentence tells us is that they're mammals. But let's see what I put into our compare and contrast Venn diagram. Where do black bears live? It tells me in the first sentence they're mammals that live in the tundra and the forest. So I'm going to put that in here. Just like I showed you, hit the enter button, take the 2 away. I'm going to put my answer in red so my teacher can tell the difference. Black bears live in the tundra, that's what it says, I think, and forest. And there we have it. It's okay if your writing goes outside of this little box. You would always make this box bigger or move the box so you have more room. It's up to you how you want to organize that. But let's move on to the next thing. Ms. Ross asked the question, asked the question, what do these black bears eat? So let's see what we can find. The black bears eat nuts, acorns, fruit, insects, and greens. You can choose any of these or all of these to put in that box, but I'm going to let you do that piece on your own. Click this right here. They, or let's be more specific, instead of they, the black bears eat. I'll put my writing in red just like I did before. And you can answer the questions from there. So you know, blank, blank, and blank. Okay. All right. So next step is to read the paragraph about polar bears. Polar bears are marine mammals that live in the freezing cold Arctic. So when I go back to my Venn diagram, where do they live? They live in the freezing cold Arctic. They are carnivores and hunt seals as their main source of food. They are able to swim beneath the ice to catch their prey. Polar bears hibernate in the winter and swim beneath the ice to catch their prey. Polar bears hibernate in the winter, and adult females give birth to their cubs during this time. So while the black bears are hibernating, and the polar bears are hibernating as well, but the difference is the polar bear moms have their babies at this time. The weight of a polar bear can range from 700 to 1,600 pounds. And their length is usually between 7 and 10 feet. Humans are the only predators to the polar bear and can live up to 25, and they can live up to 25 years if they're left alone by us. So I see in both of these paragraphs, if left alone by humans, polar bears, if left alone by humans, they can live for up to at least 25 years. This is something they both have in common. Humans are a problem for black bears. And humans are also a problem for polar bears. We like to hunt bears sometimes. So once you're done filling out the information in this Venn diagram here, you move on to step number 2. Use the passage in the Venn diagram about black bears and polar bears to answer the questions that follow, using complete sentences. Just like before, you click, and I've given you a little space to write. There are only these 4 questions here. The first 2 are for spaces to say what polar bears and black bears have in common, what's the same. The second space is for how they're different from each other. And that's kind of your work for this week. I hope this video has helped you to figure out kind of how you want to do this. I know that I shared some answers in this video, but I am not going to leave them all up. Well, actually, I am. I'm going to give you a head start that way. And when you're done with the polar bears and black bears, this is your next step. I would do this on Thursday if I was you. This one is about hedgehogs and porcupines. If you need to make your words bigger, you can do it like this by hitting the drop down button from this little magnifying glass. I like to keep it at 100 because I can see all the words at the same time, but that's just me. It'll automatically come at 50. That's way too small, so make sure you change it to at least 100 so you can see the words. All right, boys and girls, get on this assignment. I know you're going to do a great job. This is what I'll be taking for a grade this week, not the do now. This is what's going to be for the grade. So make sure that you do your best on this assignment, and I can't wait to grade it. It will be due on Saturday. Have a great week. And I miss you guys so much.